All right, guys, you're welcome to Onside with me, Joshua Holotu. And this is part 2 of what I dubbed How to Win at the World Cup. Obviously, the World Cup is 4 days away. The euphoria is gradually building, but the Black Stars of Ghana are participating in their 5th World Cup, and we all want to see them win. But winning has not been synonymous with the Black Stars for quite a while. So I'm doing this to help us understand what it means for us to win at this World Cup and win well, because we really want to replicate that 2010 performance where we went all the way to the quarterfinal in South Africa. But this time around, we also want to do it in style. So we want to see the Black Stars go to the round of 32 and perhaps the round of 16 before perhaps they may exit the competition. But don't forget that this particular World Cup is being played in the USA, Mexico, and Canada in its first very expanded versions, 48 teams participating, over 102 games, right, in total. So we have a lot of games, and there's quite an opportunity for the Black Stars to participate and do well. But these are the circumstances. We appointed a coach in April who took over the job from Otoado. He doesn't know so well the team. He's now building his, momentum in terms of his philosophy, trying to echo it down the players and helping them understand what it means to participate in this particular World Cup. We've also seen how impressive they have trained. We've seen the game against Wales, which was Carlos Queiroz' first game in charge of the Black Stars. The expectations remain somewhat high, but we want to help people to understand why it is important that we win at this World Cup, because the Black Stars haven't won a game in so long, and they really need to do so at this particular World Cup if we really, really, really want to lift the hope of the nation high. But Ghana is in a group with Panama, England, and Croatia. And to start off with my board today, I have the statistics for Panama on the screen. Now, the latest FIFA rankings came out, and Panama are number 33 in the world in terms of the latest FIFA rankings. And when you look closely at the games that they've played, as the friendly games that they've played over the last few weeks, you can see that they've won 2 of those, they've lost 1, and they've drawn 2 as well. Now, there's one very interesting thing about this particular Panama team. They have all-round goal scorers. So they don't have one particular person who normally delivers the goals for them. The reason why I'm saying this is because when you look at the statistics for all the goals they scored 3 against South Africa, because they played 2 games against South Africa in the friendlies. Then when they played Brazil, they lost by 6 goals to 2. They also played with Dominican Republic, where they scored 4 goals. And then against Bosnia-Herzegovina, they scored 1 goal. So the total goals comes to 2 here, so 3, 5, plus 4, 9, so 10 goals in total. And I must tell you that only one person has scored 2 goals in all of these games. The rest of the goals came from different goal scorers. So you can tell for a fact that Panama as a team are versatile in terms of goal scoring ability. Only one player has scored 2 goals in these performances. The rest of the goals have come from different goal scorers. So clearly, Panama is a difficult team. They have goal scorers all around the team. Only not just one person scores the goals for them. And that's a very big concern for the Black Stars, because you are going into this tournament, you really need to score, you really need to win. Panama is your first game. So how then do you try as much as possible to get a goal from people who have versatile goal scoring ability? Very tricky game, if you ask me. Now, let's look here, because the news about them is that they are no longer the whipping boys of yesteryear. Now, do you understand that? When a preview is done about a team like Panama, and the news is that they are no longer the whipping boys, it means that everybody must be aware of them. We saw how they participated in the 2018 FIFA World Cup. They got whipped by England. But this time around, they are coming with a different mindset altogether. Right? Now, look at their team. They have attackers like Ismail Diaz, Cecilio Waterman, right? Jose Fajardo, and co. Great players all around. They don't, have that kind of publicity, that kind of popularity, if you ask me. But when you see them play, they play compact football. The intensity they have at 13th minute is almost the same intensity they have at the 85th minute. So this is a very versatile team, very aggressive team. The way they press, the way they pressure in terms of goal scoring ability, they are all-rounders. This is a team that Ghana would want to be very careful of. But look at this man, Adalberto Carrasquilla. He's going to be a very key man for them in the World Cup. And a lot of eyes would be on him. In terms of performance, he's given them a lot to be happy about in the past. And when you're going into a World Cup like this and you have a player of his caliber in the team, it gives the team a lot of confidence. But again, I must be quick to add that they don't have just one star player in their team. If you want just one star player, it'll be difficult for you to mention. When you look at Karaskila, he fits that profile. But if you want to be very objective, Panama are so well-rounded. And the kind of play that they put up is one that I know that people will be willing to see at the World Cup. Now, Thomas Christiansen, how important is he a man for Panama? He has been in charge of the team since 2020. So in terms of longevity, he's been there for a while. He's built some track record with them. And you can tell for sure that he has an objective that he wants to achieve at this World Cup. They have played so many friendly games. In fact, I showed you that they played 2 games against South Africa. So in terms of preparation, they have played an African side twice. So they would have gotten a glimpse of what it feels to play against an African side. And when you want to look at the preparation that they are doing, it tells you that mentally and with their approach, they really want to prepare with the exercises that they are playing in the friendly games so that they could test the ability of the team to perform at the World Cup. Because don't forget that the heat that is going to be in the USA this summer is going to be intense. So you have the team, you have the players playing regularly up and down. It gives them a lot of momentum and focus going into those games at the World Cup, especially at the group phase. But he's going to be an important man for Panama because he's prepared the team really well. Really, really, really well. And you could realize that even though he couldn't qualify the team for the 2022 World Cup, they still stuck with him. And that is one thing that helps them coming into this tournament. Ghana, as you know it, just appointed Carlos Queiroz in April. So we don't have a manager who has been with the team for a very long time. And that's one thing that could possibly affect us. But look at Panama. How do they normally play? Normally, they will do a 3-4-2-1. In fact, there are times where they play 4-4-2 or 5-4-1, right? So they would play different types of possession football. But it's a very hybrid style. Even when they play 3-4-2-1, very hybrid. They don't sit in a fixated formation throughout the game. As the game goes on, you'd realize that they've switched formations. They've changed the way they play. They've changed their dynamics. Perhaps they are going long. At some point in the game, they go rather short. They pass the ball quickly to the midfield and they spread it into attack because they have pace, a lot of pace from start to finish. They are running all around. So that's one thing about them. High intensity physically when you look at their positions, well defined for every player. And I think that's one of the big strengths that they come into this tournament with because they will certainly want to improve upon their performance from 2018 when they last participated in the World Cup. So Panama is a very difficult team. We really need to look at them very well. Now, this is the last lineup that they used when they played their friendly against Bosnia and Herzegovina. When you look at it closely, you realize that this is quite different from the 4-4-2, the 3-4-2-1 that I mentioned earlier. This looks like a 4-4-2, but operationally, you would get different ways that they vary the formation when they go into the game. And very brilliant goal that they scored on the day, right? It was from a set piece. So let's look at them in terms of set piece as well. Very brilliant side the way they play set pieces all round. I think Panama may pull a surprise, but I've kept saying it that first game that they play against Ghana is a must win for Ghana. If they come in with a surprise, we may never know. But we all need to be very careful because with what I've looked at the stats and even their ranking, it tells you that they are in for a surprise. Ghana is currently 74th in the latest FIFA rankings. So on that day when they play Panama, Panama may not be too scared because they know that, yes, Ghana has been to the World Cup 5 times, but in terms of pedigree, currently we cannot match them. So they're coming with full confidence, full drive, and we need to win that game. By hook or crook, that win must come. But can Ghana withstand the pressure that Panama will face them? I've said it, that whatever you do, expect a goal from Panama. Because yes, they've scored in their last 6 friendly matches that they've played. But another thing that they've considered in all of them as well. So even though they are going to score, it is imperative on the Black Stars that we score. So if they're going to score 1, we have to score 2. If they score 2, we have to score 3. So whatever we do, we have to win that game. But what margin? I don't know. And only time will tell. So 11 p.m. on June 17th at the Toronto Stadium, we're going to see Ghana face Panama. But to move on, England. Now, I think that's going to be the most difficult game for the Black Stars at the World Cup. And why do I say so? Because England is number 4 in the world when you look at the rankings, the current rankings. England is number 4. England is number 4. But take that out. Look at their 5 last games that they've played. These are friendly games, right? So, we have the game they played against New Zealand. That was the latest friendly match they played. Then they lost against Japan, the first team from Asia to come into England and get a win against them, which was very interesting because so many people didn't expect it. But that's what happened. Then they played a draw against Uruguay. Against Albania, they won. But the story for England is that Thomas Tuchel has selected a side that people really thought was controversial. The kind of players that he brought in there. People didn't really expect to see people like Morgan Rogers play ahead of Cole Palmer. So that is quite controversial. Phil Foden also didn't go to the World Cup. But he has said, you've seen it on record, he has said that he wants a team that can go to the World Cup and perform the way he expects them to perform. So he's trying to shift away from the dynamic of just assembling big names and sending them to the World Cup and they don't perform. That is why we've seen some controversial calls. So people like Jet Spence would, on the normal, wouldn't go ahead of Trent Alexander-Arnold. But now we have Jet Spence in the team, and the game they played against New Zealand, you saw his performance, it was splendid. And I really enjoyed watching Jet Spence play. And I would say that quite a good call, if you tell me, about Jet Spence's argument over Trent Alexander-Arnold. But the biggest conversation in this England setup is that would they be able to get that win against Ghana? Because their first game is going to be against Croatia. And that will be a repeat of the 2018 FIFA World Cup semi-final. Would they want to go for revenge? Is Croatia going to nip them in the bud once again? Depending on the result they get from that game, it would determine the mentality they come into the Ghana game with. But if, per my assumption, Ghana wins the first game against Panama, it means that we may be targeting a draw in the game against England. And I think that England, when you look at them, their leading marksman, Harry Kane, is going to be the man to watch. Because he has an all-round ability. These days, you see him, even at Bayern Munich, going all the way to the defense to pick the ball and come into the attack. So he's an extra man in many senses for the English team. But in terms of his finishing ability, my God, you've seen how clinical he is in front of the attack. So he's the one to watch, Harry Kane. But Thomas Tuchel is also the man in the conversation because he's coming to his first FIFA World Cup. He's managed club teams after coaching Chelsea, right? He coached PSG at some point. But after he took a break from that Chelsea job, he was appointed the English manager under very controversial circumstances, at least from what the tabloids have said in England. Nobody really expected German to come and take over the English job. But here's Thomas Tuchel. And there's a hefty expectation from him to deliver this World Cup. Because we all know that England, the last time they won the FIFA World Cup was in 1966. It's been a long time. It's close to about 50 years ago. So there's pressure on Thomas Tuchel to deliver this time around and help England to win. But in that game against Ghana, it's going to be a very tricky one. I expect a draw, at least from the perspective I come from as an analyst. I think that game is going to end in a draw. But when you look at how they play, they normally model it in a 4-2-3-1 kind of formation. 4-2-3-1 kind of formation. And there are tactical variations to that. And we'll see a lot of that when the World Cup begins. But a lot of the pressure would be on Thomas Tuchel. He has to deliver. But in that game against Ghana, like I've already said, I expect a draw. This is their last lineup that they used in the game against New Zealand. So you can see clearly this is a typical 4-2-3-1 with Rashford and Morgan Rogers being spread in the wide areas and Oli Watkins playing directly behind Harry Kane. So Watkins playing in the number 10 role, quite interesting. Somebody would have expected Morgan Rogers to play in that area rather and see somebody like Bukayo Saka play in the area of Morgan Rogers. But Thomas Tuchel, I think he's trying a couple of things to see what really works. Because we also saw Kobbie Mainoo playing in double pivot with Jordan Henderson. And we also saw a very spectacular performance from Jet Spence. He provided the assist for Harry Kane to slot in that perfect goal. England will be a team to watch. England will be a team to watch. So that game is going to happen on the 23rd of June at 8 p.m. at the Boston Stadium. England versus Ghana. And I think what makes it more juicier is the conversation with Thomas Partey as well. Now, the English boys are purportedly, according to the media in the UK, purportedly planning to not shake the hands of Thomas Partey during that game. Now, the English FA hasn't spoken, but let's all keep our eyes on the ground, our eyes and ears on the ground, because if that is to happen, it turns the tide of this game into a very, very controversial and interesting manner that a lot of people will be expecting to see. So yes, that game may be a very crucial. Now, let's look at Croatia, because I think that will be Ghana's most difficult game. Croatia, they are number 11 in the world now, according to the latest FIFA rankings. And in the last two World Cups, we've seen their performance. In Qatar 2022, they were the third place team after they beat Morocco in that third place playoff game. But before that, in 2018, they went all the way to the final and they got beat by France 4-2. So this is a team that in the last two World Cups have done so well. A country of this size, so small, yet at the world stage have been able to prove themselves so big. I think a lot of eyes must be on them. Yes, people are talking about how their team is not as lethal as it was before, but believe you me, this is a Croatia team that Ghanaians would want to be scared of, especially in the last group game, where the dynamics at the time may be different. Perhaps if Ghana wins that first game against Panama, the pressure would have reduced coming into this game against Croatia, because we don't need to do so much. Even if we lose, we may have at least amassed 3 points that would help us to qualify for the next stage, which is the round of 32. But imagine Ghana loses that game against Panama, gets a draw against England. It means that game against Croatia becomes a very difficult game that we need to win. But Croatia may also be coming into the game needing the points. So how do they approach the game? Final group games are always interesting because of the dynamics involved. And you know that most of those games, in fact, all of those games are played simultaneously. You know, when we have final group games, they're played simultaneously. So as the Croatia-Ghana game is being played, we're also going to see Panama-England being played at the same time. So the dynamics of this game is going to be very interesting. But look at Croatia. Look at the friendlies they've played. They've won 3, lost 2. They lost against Brazil. They lost against Belgium. But they are a very good side, because after what they've done in the World Cup in the last 2 editions, I think they'll be coming into this tournament with a lot of confidence, because they know what they can do. They've done it at the big stage. They can do it again. So, look at the veteran in Luka Modric, right? 40 years of age, but looks so energetic for AC Milan. He's going to be the star man in their team, undoubtedly. And I strongly believe that he has done enough to qualify as a legend for the Croatians. But would he be a very key man in this tournament? I still think he has a lot in his legs to prove, right? But he also comes in with so much experience, because he's played at the highest level for so long. So if there's one person that the Croatians need so much in this tournament, it could be Luka Modric, because he offers them that advantage that they can use in very tight moments of the game, where you need somebody who is visionary to look at the field and give that incisive pass that helps the team to get a goal. Trust Luka Modric to do that. Which is why I keep saying that game against Croatia for Ghana is a very tough one, because the dynamics. But Zlatko Dalic, how impressive has he been a manager for Croatia? He took over the job in 2017. And from 2017 till now, you can see the amount of work he's done, the achievements that he's chalked, and how he intends to approach this tournament and what he wants to achieve from it. I think he's done so well. Yeah, so well. Like I said, runner-up in 2018, third place in 2022. And in fact, he's known as one person who is a motivator. So he motivates his team really well. And he managed to help them to get results at that. So Zlatko Dalic, he'll be an important figure in that dressing room for Croatia. In tight circumstances, they manage to get results for the team. This is their last lineup that they played in that friendly against Slovenia. So it's also a typical 4-2-3-1. But look at the legends in this team. There's Ivan Perisic, right? Ante Budimir. We also have Mario Pasalic, Luka Modric, I've already mentioned, Mateo Kovacic, and Kramaric. Right? We also have players like Stanisic, who plays for Bayern Munich, and also Joško Gvardiol, who plays for Manchester City. So the team is a good team. You can't write them off. They need to be kept in high regard because they are coming into this tournament, they're going to do a lot of things. But in that game, Ghana, Croatia, Philadelphia Stadium on June 27th, 9 p.m., that's going to be a very tough game for Ghana. I don't see us winning that game. That is how, as an analyst, I see things. It's going to be a very difficult game. But the mentality for the day needs to be on point. Because if we put up a very good performance and we lose the game, and if we have gathered enough points from the first two games, I don't think Ghanaians will be so worried. But Croatia would come into this game definitely because they want to win. For all you know, they may want to top the group. So, depending on what the dynamics were in the first two games, the third game is still crucial because if they get 3 points, and perhaps they already have 3 points, that becomes 6 points. They top the group. And it helps them so much to either qualify as a first place team or the second place team. And that actually is better than finishing as a third place team. The third place teams will go ahead to play a more difficult team in the round of 32. So that's another thing to keep in mind. The placement of the teams based on how they finish off at this World Cup. So much is left to be seen. Now, in my next episode, I'm going to be talking about that crucial game that the Black Stars played in 2010 against the USA in the round of 16. That game sums up what it means to win at the FIFA World Cup because that game really helped us to understand how the Black Stars really shaped up to beat an opponent that really also came into the game with full force. And I can say, arguably, that was the game that really defined Ghana at the world stage. Because from here, we went into the quarterfinal, we lost against Uruguay. But that game against the USA in 2010 has everything that we need as a team to look at now and try and pick a couple of markers or indicators from to prepare very well for what we want to do at this particular tournament in 2026 in the FIFA World Cup. So we're going to be talking about that next. And after that, we are going to go straight into the FIFA World Cup preview. And I'll be talking about all the interesting facts, all the amazing things to look out for in this very expanded World Cup that's going to be played for the very first time, 48 teams in USA, Canada, and Mexico. So guys, subscribe to the channel. This is Onside with me, Joshua Holo2. Until I come your way again, take care of yourself and see you in the next one.